Okay, what started out as a cool idea for your TTRPG has turned into a real game. You did it. Congratulations. But now comes the hard part, getting the word out. Marketing a TTRPG isn't always easy or obvious. So today on Wizards of Eem Podcast, we're talking through some practical marketing tips to help you take that TTRPG public.
Welcome to the Wizards of Eem Podcast. I'm Ben Costa.
And I'm James Parks, and we're the creators of Land of Eem, Rickety Stitch and a Gelatinous Goo, and Dungeoneer Adventures.
So today we are talking about marketing your game, and it's a huge piece of the puzzle when you're making anything. You got to market it.
Yeah, and it's not always obvious or easy where to start. So today we're dipping our toes into what we feel are like some of the core elements that can really help you get the word out for your game. We're going to start the discussion off with just being able to simply and clearly describe your game.
So let's take Land of Eem as an example.
Land of Eem has lots of inspirations. It isn't just for kids. It was designed as an all-ages game that adults could enjoy as well, like Ben and myself.
Yeah, we designed the game based on our own preferences, our own play styles, and when you get down to it, the game is based on our stories, and these are the type of stories that we write. All ages, not just for kids. Take Rickety Stitch, for example. You know, it looks cartoony and fun, and there's a talking skeleton and a little blob of goo. But in the background, there are hordes of undead skeletons and a nefarious lich, and lots of, elements that you wouldn't just put into a kid's story.
Yeah, serious subject matter that's maybe a little bit more of an edge than what you might be familiar with, like a standard Pixar movie. And Ben and I were inspired by a lot of the media that we were consuming when we were growing up, where this kind of tonal shift was quite common. A lot of 80s cartoons have like a round, fuzzy, goofy edges, but also contain a serious subject matter. One inspiration for us was an 80s movie called The Secret of NIMH, based on a book about a mouse mother whose son is very, very sick with pneumonia. And even though it's cute and cuddly, there are serious elements of terror and danger and visual elements that are a little bit creepy or spooky, mixed with the fun, cute nature of the cartoon world. And that kind of tonal shift, it directly inspired a lot of our published work like Rickety Stitch and Dungeoneer Adventures. And so you see that mix in the Land of Eem because we were inspired by lots of media that is just like it.
Yeah, not only Secret of NIMH, but, Bone, the graphic novel series by Jeff Smith, is a great example. Yep. You've got your funny strip characters thrust into this perilous situation that just keeps revealing itself to be more serious in tone. And the tagline is a really useful tool. It's been really helpful for us to convey what the game is about in just a few words. People kind of instantly get what it is. We've heard a lot of feedback that, those are two of my favorite things, sign me up. But it's not always perfect. We can't always get everything across that way. And because of the cartoony art style, people naturally make assumptions about the target audience. And that's fair. It's something we were actually expecting going into it. So we also try to think of a few different ways we could, sort of solve that problem, which we'll get into more of later in the discussion.
Yeah, and you have to remember that people of different ages will align with different taglines and different properties just because that's what they grew up with. For example, not everybody understands the direct connection to the Muppets. For us, they'll say, this reminds me of Adventure Time. Totally get it. Like we're huge fans of Adventure Time. We've seen it too, but it wasn't necessarily deeply influential for us because Adventure Time came out at a time where we were already adults. Pendleton Ward is around our age. So it wasn't a direct influence that inspired the Land of Eem or any of our books, but it's definitely like spiritually close to the tone of Land of Eem because it does have goofy, funny whimsy in it, as well as serious elements, just like some of the best cartoons.
So when you're actually describing your game, you want to focus on what makes it unique, but kind of avoid getting into the nitty-gritty rules and mechanical details of the game. I think a lot of RPG lovers will kind of glaze their eyes, like when you start going like, but mine uses this instead of this, so it's totally unique. When it comes down to it, it's really hard to be unique because, everything's been done under the sun. But hopefully you're doing something that sort of creates a unique combination of things. I don't know if that's usable at all or...
Well, I totally agree with you, because I think that when it comes to mechanics specifically and trying to position your game around the mechanics only, or trying to really prominently promote the game with the mechanics at front and center, you're sort of missing out on the fact that the TTRPG world is one of ad hocness, in that people make games their own. They make their own erratas. They make their own house rules. It's like our entire experience as gamers, or almost our entire experiences as gamers, has been shifting rule sets that we're reading and making our own adjustments to it. And we absolutely welcome that in Land of Eem, because we want you to make the rule sets just there for you to do with what you please and tweak how you please to have the most fun with the world. But it also can be a detriment to trying to get the word out, because, people are going to be like, oh, I'm not sure if I want to learn a new rule, or I'm not sure if I want to dig deep on this particular thing. What's the value proposition for me who has seen a million RPGs? What's different about it? What are the key elements that are gonna make people say, oh, I've never seen something like that before, or that's an interesting take on a world. And we experienced this with Land of Eem, the Muppets meets the Lord of the Rings. Like, the Muppets is just one part of that. There's also the Lord of the Rings part. And at a first glance, people say, oh, there's swords and dragons, but how is this like the Lord of the Rings? Well, for us, it's about the scope, the depth, the high fantasy elements, and all of those connective tissues that bring it back to our book series, because our book series are steeped in being able to tell, thousands of pages of adventure with a big, breathing, living world. And the Lord of the Rings is one of our biggest inspirations for making a goofy, funny world with grim elements feel alive.
Yeah, all you have to do is imagine, Kermit and the gang trudging through the mountains on a perilous quest to destroy the ring.
I mean, it wasn't the Witcher that grabbed the ring and threw it in a volcano to defeat Sauron and save Middle-earth. It was a little hobbit named Frodo and his buddies. And that's a pretty huge juxtaposition from Nazgul and orcs and ring wraiths and balrogs and dragons. These are just, four little guys living in farmland far away, totally unaware of the perils that exist in the world. And that kind of trend and tone and theme is steeped in the Land of Eem, even though it may not be obvious by looking at it on the surface. So the tagline helps promise that that's there before someone digs into the books.
Yes. Okay. So we are able to describe our game. Now let's move on to the second tip.
Item the second, Mr. Costa.
And that is, once you have your game in working order, you're going to want to play test it. And this is for several reasons. One is, first and foremost, to perfect the game.
Yeah, hammer out those kinks.
Hammer out all the kinks of game design. But from a marketing standpoint, if you release an open beta and invite people to play the game, run games for them, you will be building interest in your game and slowly start to build a following.
Absolutely. And was exactly our experience. I mean, we started out small with our beta rule set, and we started playing it and inviting more people to play it. We even did some online events and invited some YouTubers to try out the game and play it on a small scale, learned a ton, and also gained a little bit of following about what it was that we were working on during that process. And so highly recommended to share early rule sets and see how people react to it. I mean, the game itself, not just the mechanics, but like the flair that makes your game unique.
Yeah. And this goes with any sort of long-term project, not just a game. Maybe you're making a comic. But in both cases, in any case, if you're making something for years, you don't just want to be holed up in your room for 3 years while you make it. You want to be sharing things about it so people are interested. You don't want to emerge from that hole and just show everyone your hard work, but no one cares because they've never heard of it. And, you're kind of speaking into the void of social media. That's always the worst feeling in the world. So start early. Use those years of development to slowly gain a following. One tip that was great for us, establish some visibility and credibility on DriveThruRPG or Itch. What's great about DriveThruRPG is that you put a product up on there. Let's say you put your open beta PDF on there and, do a pay what you want. You'll start accruing points in their system, and you use those points to submit a deal of the day, which is a huge way to gain new buyers because they'll see, people use that site, will see the deal of the day and they'll buy it.
Very successful for us.
Yes.
But also, to add to that, if you want to see something like this in practice, on the Land of Eem Discord, people are creating new material that they are posting on DriveThruRPG using the Land of Eem SRD. And so they're workshopping adventures and playing adventures that they're in the process of creating so that they can put them up on DriveThruRPG and do exactly what Ben is talking about. So check it out. It's a really friendly community. And if you had questions, I'm sure people would be able to answer them and help you out.
All right. The third thing that you should consider when marketing your game is to invest in art. Now, I'm an artist, so I was able to, illustrate our beta rules, but actually producing, 3 fully illustrated books, this was going to take a team. Before we ever got with Exalted Funeral, James and I were planning on funding the game ourselves, and we spent quite a bit of money investing in art. We paid Justin Gerard to do this cover because we knew that the cover is the most important way to sell the game.
They say to never judge a book by its cover, but it's very important in marketing.
So we approached our favorite artists and, we paid them fairly. We asked their rates and they gave their rates and we paid them. It was a great investment.
Yeah,
no regrets.
Having strong art assets sets an expectation for what can be expected from the game as well. You are not only marketing your game and getting people to click on it or check it out or look at it in the bookstore, you're also proving to them that you have put enough care into the book and enough thought into the book to provide an overall quality experience for them. And really great art signals that without having to say a thing. It really does.
And you may be asking, why didn't I just do the art if I'm an artist? Well, we knew that because of the tone of our game, the cartoony insides, that people would maybe just dismiss it as a kid's game right off the bat and not look into it further. We knew that if we, approach someone like Justin Gerard, who has a really amazing painterly style that's also a little cartoony, it would do well to persuade some people who might otherwise just dismiss it outright. It's like a classic fantasy style.
And it's okay to be polarizing with decisions. If you really actively are looking to create a thing that has a very particular vibe, you're not going to please everybody. Like with Land of Eem, sometime for every 100 people that say, oh my gosh, we love this cover, there's going to be one that is like, it's not for me. And that's totally fine. Because you want to find the people that really connect with your vibe and connect with what it is that you're providing. And that's the actual journey that you're going on, is finding the people that connect with you, not trying to please everybody.
And maybe you will connect with some of those people who weren't initially wowed by just the visual connection when you make it a deal of the day on DriveThruRPG and they're like, oh, well, this is only $5 right now, I'm going to buy it. So there's that coming into play.
Yeah. It's like, I heard something about this, like Questing Beast said something or other, or whatever it is. And then they see it on DriveThruRPG, there's a higher likelihood that they'll check it out. Art takes money. So how do you generate the funds that you're going to need to be able to create your game and pay these artists for their great work? Well, one way is crowdfunding. And that's what Ben and I did with Land of Eem. But crowdfunding is more than just raising money. Crowdfunding is about finding audiences and marketing your game. If you think about crowdfunding like a way to achieve pre-orders, then you're on the right track to be able to have a successful game. You're not just asking for money. You're telling people about this amazing thing and how great it will be for them if they invest in it. You're finding those people with the platforms. And you can, as you're building your community with the playtesting and putting it on DriveThruRPG, you then also simultaneously put together this crowdfunding campaign and you merge the two so that you've built your community that you can market the campaign to, and then you can use the campaign's platform to find new audiences, ultimately making sure that you've got the money that you need to invest in layout, to invest in editing, and to invest in the kinds of covers that are going to get people excited about this awesome game you've made.
Now let's take a step back here, because James and I, we did develop the game and invest a ton of money, our own money into it, fully thinking that we were going to crowdfund the campaign by ourselves.
That's right.
What ended up actually happening, though, was that we partnered with Exalted Funeral, who's an awesome indie game publisher. But if we hadn't have done that, it wouldn't have changed our trajectory of funding the game on Kickstarter or BackerKit or what have you.
We had already put into place all of our plans to develop and run the Kickstarter ourselves. And it was kind of by happenstance that we ended up with Exalted Funeral. And that's like a story for a whole other podcast. But they ended up running the campaign for us, but it didn't change what our responsibilities were to start to cultivate the audience, start to cultivate feedback from the beta rules.
And have proof of concept.
Yes.
We invested in the art. We have things to show. We already worked with Vihendro, the layout artist, to have pages. So we were prepared to show these things off on the Kickstarter page, which is the only way that you're going to get someone to buy in. They have to see what you're actually making. Please make a video if you're doing a Kickstarter campaign. I'm always blown away by how many people don't make videos, but like research shows that that's so important to get as many backers as possible.
It's significant too. It's not even close. The campaigns with videos do much better than campaigns without. And that's even something we could talk about, actually. Like, making a strong video for your campaign isn't necessarily about digging super deep into the lore or the world or the mood. It's more about communicating why this game exists and why it's great and fun and unique, and who you are as well.
Yeah, telling your story. I mean,
telling
Dave
your
and I
story.
Talk about how, we've been friends our entire lives and we want to make awesome things together.
Yeah, and we also had a fan base from our graphic novel series and our middle grade series that understood our world and understood us to kind of springboard from, which was a huge boon for us. But even before we created Rickety Stitch or Dungeoneer Adventures, Ben and I had the itch to create games. In fact, we both have games just sitting around in our lives that we've been working on slowly for years that just that are homebrews or will never see the light of day in terms of a market. But the bug to create games has been there for a long time. And we were able to leverage that part of ourselves to launch this campaign as well, and to really communicate those benefits and who we were in that video.
Okay, so this is our final point. Build a community. And all of the stuff we've mentioned will help you start building that community. Open beta playtest, launch a crowdfunding campaign. You will start to build a community. Discord has been awesome for us. Doing YouTube videos like this that also spreads the word of the game and our series and all that.
Yeah, and really, it's about focusing your efforts. You don't necessarily need to be everywhere all the time. And it's not a very winning strategy either, unless you're like a giant corporation, like you're like Wizards of the Coast and you've got social media management for everything. It's more about starting small and focusing on things that will have slow returns for helping you build it. Obviously, a Discord, like Ben mentioned, is great because then you can actively communicate with your audience about playtesting and getting groups together and watching what people do with your rules like we do on ours. But also an email list. Have a website where people can sign up for emails and get updates about what you're providing. People poo-poo this and they don't understand the power of an email list. It can be significantly more powerful than a social media following, because there's not much to do. You can't say as much as you want to say. You can't share as much as you want to share on social media. And you're competing with all kinds of other voices that didn't opt in to always get that message put into your inbox. Very powerful.
Algorithms that stifle,
that shift all the time, and it's that stifle voices, and it's not so fun. And of course, YouTube, like Ben and I are doing this podcast now, it'll be available in the Apple podcast area or whatever.
Apple podcast area.
The Apple podcast area. It'll be available wherever podcasts can be downloaded, and it'll be on YouTube. And we do that so that we can create this one piece and reach as many people with our voices as we can. But a lot of those people are folks that subscribe to us. They want to hear what we want to say, what we have to say. They want to learn stuff from us, or they want to, interact with our actual play and listen to us be goofballs for hours upon hours of our own game of Land of Eem.
I mean, yeah, that's another thing that we haven't even talked about is the actual play.
Yeah.
That was not only a way to play test the game early on, but just show the world that it exists and you can play it and show people how to play. Just by watching it, you can pick up our way of playing the game, because when you're reading a rule book, it's not always 100% foolproof. It really helps to see other people play the game.
And it doesn't, you shouldn't feel pressured to have that actual play be super polished either, because our actual play is not polished. It is actually us playing Land of Eem, being ourselves, like rolling into it. Often we're not prepared at all. It's just we finally got some time to play the game and have fun with each other. And so our actual play is very real. It's just like legit us hanging out and having fun. but it can be really helpful for people that want to see how the game plays and to really take the pressure off thinking you've got to have these amazing produced critical role things or all that. It's not about that. It's about being able to have fun with a game and show people that you can have fun with a game. And people on our Discord all the time, when they have asked questions about how a rule works or how an ability works, we see others just posting links to the actual play, like, oh yeah, at hour 2 here, you can see how they handled this situation. It was really similar, which, to be fair, blows me away. But we hear it time and time again. It's a great way to learn the game and get the vibe, and we recommend doing it.
Paying for a highly produced actual play, who knows what the returns on that are. What we do know is that you could show up in your underwear and have no prep and play and have fun with your friends, and it'll exist.
And Ben isn't exaggerating. That's just what he does every week. Business up top, party on the bottom. That's kind of gossip. Anyway, I think that concludes the podcast today. We covered some of the basics for how to market your TTRPG. Just remember, it's about having fun. Like, making games is fun and playing games is fun. Don't forget about that. Like, make the game that you want to make, and don't put too much pressure on yourself.
If you are new to Land of Eem, you can check out our website, download the quick start guide, or you can go to exaltedfuneral.com, check out all of the things on offer that are Land of Eem, the deluxe box set, Rickety Stitch and the Gelatinous Goo graphic novel series. It's all there for you. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Take it easy, folks. Bye-bye.